we are turning our attention to a growing concern about what is actually inside the meals we eat. Have you seen those viral claims going around that farm soil is completely empty of minerals like magnesium and zinc?
I have seen those videos actually, and it sounds terrifying to think our dirt is just dead.
The good news is the empty dirt idea is a complete myth, but it does point to a genuine crisis where our food is losing its minerals. We can understand this by walking through the scientific method, starting with a landmark observation made in 2004.
Okay, what was the observation that kicked this off?
A researcher named Donald Davis analyzed historical USDA data for 43 different garden crops. He found a reliable drop in nutrient density between 1950 and 1999.
Wait, so a vegetable grown today actually has fewer nutrients inside it than one from the 1950s?
Exactly. The mineral content has objectively dropped. To figure out why, scientists formulated a hypothesis known as the dilution effect.
What exactly is getting diluted in the plant?
Since the 1950s, we have aggressively bred crops to grow much faster and much bigger. The hypothesis is that these plants are packing on physical mass so rapidly that their roots simply cannot pull minerals out of the soil fast enough to keep up.
Oh, so the soil still has minerals, but the plant is just growing too fast to absorb them properly.
Spot on. The limited nutrients end up getting watered down or diluted across a much larger piece of produce. We're turning our attention now to how growing larger crops has unexpectedly changed the food itself. When a plant is bred to produce a much bigger harvest, the minerals it absorbs from the soil get stretched really thin.
So if you look at a single piece of the plant, like a grain of wheat, it ends up with less magnesium and zinc inside it?
Exactly, because the nutrients are physically diluted. We actually have the perfect historical proof of this from the broad bulk wheat experiment in the UK.
What exactly is that experiment?
It is an incredible ongoing study where they've been growing wheat and archiving both soil and grain samples on the exact same plot of land since 1843.
Since 1843? What did looking at all those historical wheat samples actually show?
The analysis showed that zinc and magnesium levels in the wheat were perfectly stable for over a century. But in the 1960s, farmers switched to new semi-dwarf, high-yielding wheat varieties.
Let me guess. Those new varieties produced a lot more wheat, but the nutrients dropped.
You hit the nail on the head. The physical crop yield skyrocketed, but the mineral concentration in the grains immediately plummeted.
So breeding plants purely to give us massive yields physically dilutes their nutritional density.
That is the exact conclusion, and it is a stark trade-off of modern farming. Let's look at why adding more fertilizer to soil doesn't always mean healthier crops. It turns out that dumping massive amounts of standard fertilizers, like phosphorus and potassium, can actually block plants from absorbing other vital minerals.
That seems backward to me. Shouldn't more fertilizer automatically mean more nutrients for the plant?
You think so, but it creates a phenomenon called nutrient antagonism. Basically, heavy doses of fertilizer create a chemical roadblock in the soil.
How does adding fertilizer actually create a roadblock?
Well, let's look at potassium fertilizer. Potassium and magnesium both try to enter the plant's roots through the exact same absorption channels.
So if you flood the soil with potassium, it just crowds out the magnesium?
Exactly. It hogs the door so the magnesium can't get inside. And a similar lockout happens with zinc, but through a totally different mechanism when farmers use phosphorus fertilizer.
What does phosphorus do to the zinc?
It reacts with the soluble zinc in the soil to form an insoluble solid called zinc phosphate. Once it's locked into that solid complex, the roots simply can't absorb it.
Wow, so the fertilizer literally traps the zinc in the dirt.
It does, and to make matters worse, excess phosphorus also suppresses beneficial root fungi called mycorrhizae. Without those fungi acting as hunters for the plant, it struggles even more to find any remaining zinc. Let's bring our look into the agricultural system to a close by tackling a huge myth about our soil. We often hear internet rumors claiming our dirt is completely empty of minerals, but the truth is, those minerals are actually still there.
Wait. If the minerals are still in the ground, why does everyone keep saying our produce has fewer nutrients today?
It comes down to how we've broken the growing system, starting with the way we breed crops. We've engineered them to grow incredibly large and fast, which essentially waters down or dilutes the nutrients inside the plant.
So the plant gets a lot bigger, but it isn't pulling up extra vitamins to match that new size.
Exactly. And we make the problem worse by flooding the ground with unbalanced fertilizers. These chemicals cause a reaction that locks nutrients like zinc and magnesium into the soil, physically preventing the roots from absorbing them.
That is fascinating. So the nutrients are sitting right next to the roots, but the plant is just blocked from using them.
Right. So our food is getting weaker because of our aggressive farming methods, not because the earth itself is depleted.
It really goes to show that the next time I see a wild health claim online, I need to look past the scary headlines and find the actual science.